up into a frenzy, but it's the team that needs whipping up into a frenzy, because they trail by 30 points to 0, and they really haven't looked like troubling this Wakefield Trinity Wildcats defence. As Celtic get the second half underway, and it's Snitch in possession. And I think one thing to point out in the Crusaders' defence is the absence of Matty Smith, who of course was injured in that game against the Catalan Dragons. They thought he might have fractured his elbow. It's a dislocation, serious enough, but it's weeks rather than months apparently for Matty Smith. But they are missing him, Steve-O.
Without a doubt, Bill, and I must say that there's quite a few players out there that seem to be struggling with the pace of it. Take nothing away from the Wildcats. They really have been on form in that first 40 minutes. But remember, against Catalan, they did come back, did Celtic, after a talk at half-time by their coach, John Dixon.
We're very quick to judge Celtic here as they're 30-0 down at half-time. But they have got some good kids coming through. The foundation, which is the under-16 side, played the Rhinos under-16 side. They had some tremendous young Welsh players. Jack Pring, a centre, Gareth Connolly, a prop. But Tom Davis, a young prop forward, has a real big future at this club in this game.
Demetrio quickly in to make the tackle for Wakefield, trying to slow Blackwood down as well. Tangata Toa now up to the 40-metre line, but no quick play the balls from this Celtic side. Here's Quinn on the halfway line. Budworth, Ryan O'Hara, but Stozic stands his ground and makes a good tackle. Korkidas in there as well to assist. Words exchange with O'Hara. The kick comes in. It's fielded by Grix. A good opportunity to go down to the sidelines and hear from Rod Studd.
Yeah, just caught a quick word with John Keir as he came back onto pitch side. Bill, I know Phil Clark was mentioning possible injury to Jason Demetriou. No problem with Jason Demetriou's back, he says. But Dale Ferguson's had a couple of stitches in an eye wound for the Wildcats. But John Keir was saying he looks very pretty and he'll be ready to go back out there whenever needed.
So the coach in better humour this evening. And well, he might be after that first half performance. Here is Snitch.
Yeah, the support play was superb, wasn't he? Especially in the latter part of that first half.
Stozic now. He's missed the last 11 games as James Stozic, so they're boosted by his return. An accidental offside is the call. And as Brough put the kick in, I think it was Korkidas who was the culprit.
Well, he didn't know. It was just a wayward kick, wasn't it, by Danny Brough? Either way, accidental offside. So there's opportunity now for the home side. I must say the Celtic fans have had very little to cheer about. He's a key factor. Is Jace Van Dijk.
So Celtic, great position right in front of those posts. Budworth serves it up for Tangata Toa. This is a great opportunity early in this second half for the Celtic Crusaders. Budworth, the runner, O'Hara on his shoulder. O'Hara trying to get over the sideline, over the try line, but they're pushing him towards the sidelines. Budworth again. Van Dijk quickly closed down by Danny Brough, who was off the line like a rabbit there.
That'll
the
be
ball's
back to
still
6.
loose. It's back to 6. And Brough again in with the tackle. Jace Van Dijk slowly to his feet. Here's Darren Matt now.
This will tell us just how good Wakefield have been tonight. If they can hang on for another 6 tackles, prevent a try, there really will be a side that could feature in the top 4.
Well, they might not be able to prevent a try here. Adam Peake is just short of the try line, in fact. Looked as though he was going to try and force his way over. Budworth, they are over. It's David Tangata Toa who's got that one, but not to the satisfaction of the referee, who wants video ref Thierry Alibert, who is again asked to look at obstruction there as that ball was played.
Well, if you look closely, there's certainly contact back on the inside. No, there's nothing wrong there.
Oh, I don't know. I think he's in the way there, definitely. Pretty much scores that try every week, does Tangata Toa.
Well, I think Danny Brough made a meal of it.
Well, is it Quinn who plays the ball? He can't become the invisible man, Barry.
Where's he supposed to go?
He can't move forward. This has got to be given.
The Celtic Crusaders
Told you.
Celtic Crusaders were heading back for the conversion.
It can be
And struggling to comprehend that decision.
Told you.
Well, we're going to have to ask the RFL to explain, where's the man who plays the ball supposed to go?
He's going to stand still.
And Danny Bruff's feet were not behind the line.
It's Adam Peake, isn't it?
Look.
Peake who plays the ball.
He's got hold of him, Phil, hasn't he?
He's not got hold of him.
He is. After he plays the ball, he grabs hold of him. And you're right, he doesn't move him out of the way, and that's what I'd be saying to Danny Bruff. Get him out of the way, get him. He does not have the right to control you there, but he does put his hands on him.
So Tangata Toa denied.
He touches him and he's made a meal of it. But what about the fact that Danny Bruff's feet were not behind the line, which they're supposed to be?
On or behind it, aren't they? On or behind it.
Both.
Snitch thumped to the ground there, and you could almost hear the air forced out of his lungs as he was landed on his back on the pitch. So Celtic thought they were off the mark. Not so. Video ref Thierry Alibert disallowing that try, and you wouldn't bet against this Wakefield side immediately hitting them on the counter-attack. Grix brought the ball infield just enough to avoid the danger of going into touch. Here is Drew. Drew for Tavita Liolatu. They will get the try. Surely Rooney will stretch out.
I don't think he's made it.
Or has he?
I think he's short.
Another video ref call.
Thierry.
And Ben Thaler asking this time. Busy night for Thierry Alibert to check the grounding. There's a suspicion of a double movement, maybe.
He's done well, Tangata Toa there, hasn't he?
They can, yeah. If he's fouled, they'll call it. And that
oh, now then, has he got the ball still in his left hand?
That's amazing.
Go on, Steve, or your turn.
I think it's his own hand that stops him from getting the ball down. He's short there, but he's sliding, and then his own hand, and then he loses it.
I think that's short. I think Tangata Toa has done a great job.
He sure has.
He's been denied one himself, and he's returned the favour.
I think there should be no try, but the way things are going, the Frenchman Thierry Alibert will make the decision shortly.
Well, there's no chance that the video referee will fall asleep during this game.
Tangata Toa hauling Rooney back. Rooney returning to the side. Has he got the try? He awaits the decision. Celtic denied at one end, and the try is awarded.
It's an amazing game. It can be cruel at times. Take nothing away from the fact he got himself into the position. It's taken him a while for Jamie Rooney to get back into the swing of things. It's been plagued with all sorts of problems. And the build-up was good. Back on the inside, and the big fella, Liolatu, and then Rooney says, I'll take it through. Not convinced, Ben Thaler. That's the reason why he's took it upstairs to Thierry Alibert. That's what created the try. It was good work from Liolatu. And a nice finish in the end. Okay, controversial finish. Not that it'll matter with this man.
Bruff with the successful conversion from close to the posts. Wakefield ahead by 36 points to nil. And John Keir, well, quiet satisfaction from the Wildcats coach.
And the thing that he will be pleased more than anything was the ability of Tavita Liolatu, the way that he went through, and as he was dying with the ball, just whipped the ball back on the inside.
Do you know what? Liolatu must have one of those distorted mirrors, because he runs as if he's about 6'4" and 20 stone. One of the smaller forwards, and they've got the ball back. Delacourt,
the ball infield for Peake. Peake still going. Still heading for that try line. So the short restart comes up for the Celtic Crusaders. Peake to his feet. Budworth now. Map.
No way.
Map runs into Bybee. Dimitri with the tackle as well. Here's Jace Van Dijk. Lennon heading for the corner. He's heading for the sidelines now. And Celtic examining this Wakefield defence a bit more in the second half. Here is Tangata Toa, denied a try. He's lost that ball. And Wakefield have it back. And this time referee Ben Thaler waves, allows the advantage and waves play on. Tangata Toa losing the ball in that tackle. Tavita Lialatu.
Good play, just a dummy down on that blind side. Sneaks another 5 or 6 metres forward. It's been the difference between the two sides. Wakefield controlling in the forwards over the advantage line. And when it comes to the kick and chase, they've really harassed their opposition.
Ricky Bybee just managing to crawl his way into the Celtic half there as the tackle is completed. Brough fires the pass out for Atkins. Atkins had to stretch for that and took it well. Oh, great hands from Atkins, out the back door from him. Picked up by Blaymire. Rooney now, and they're turning it on at the Wildcats. Here is Demetriou. Demetriou to Blaymire. Will he get a second? He will. Rooney again. And this time there's no doubt about that one. Second try of the evening in quick succession for Jamie Rooney. And this is more like it, says the coach. And they are taking this Celtic Crusaders side to the cleaners. They really do like winning in Wales to Wakefield.
Well, a sign of a very good side, or is it a sign of a very poor defence when you go from one end of the field to the other? Adventurous play, but when you've got a commanding lead, you can afford to be able to do this. They're falling off the would-be tacklers. Okay, looked as though that could have been forward, but it was turned down by the official. Oh, beautiful stuff. Demetriou back on the inside. Unselfish play. Rooney fully deserved it. He's having a fine game. Had a good kicking game as well.
Missed, of course, a large part of the season, Jamie Rooney, because of health and injury worries, but certainly back in form now. Returned a couple of weeks ago and looking back to his old best. Brough likewise, and he's missed a rarity. Danny Brough pushing that one wide. Wakefield ahead though by 40 points to 0 now here. They won in Cardiff last year against Castleford, 54 points to 16, and heading for another big win just down the M4 here against a weary-looking Celtic Crusaders side. Dejected-looking bunch of players returning for the restart. Not in any rush because there's more pain coming their way, you'd think.
It is a sign of confidence when you see teams going into contact, offloading the ball in those 50-50 occasions where you think it might come off or it might not. Wakefield have got 10 offloads away in this game, and unfortunately Celtic have only got 4 away, and that is a dominant factor.
That ball has come up for Celtic again from the restart.
That way, and that way.
And
they can't get a call to go their way, though.
Because they're going to have possession taken away from them by the call from the touch judge.
Hold on, I got a call.
Great work by Atkins, though. Come to daddy, he said, and well, it's deemed to say that he's lost it.
Here we go.
Doesn't appear to touch it there.
Out.
Not so. It's obviously been given as a knock on.
Well, with Keith Senior retiring from international rugby league, is Ryan Atkins the new left centre for England for perhaps the next few years and the next World Cup?
And he's been impressive tonight.
We've got to see what he can do here now in the remainder of this game. I know he's sided heavily in front. Can he get himself involved? Can he attract the ball to him? Can he get some players on the inside to provide the service to show what he has to offer?
Another dispiriting night for the Crusaders and their supporters, who were so optimistic just a couple of weeks ago when they got that win against Bradford, the first of their Super League life at Odsal. And then the thinking was, well, they've got some winnable home games coming up. Catalan and then Wakefield. They really did fancy that they could get on a roll, but the roll has deserted them. And it's great defence from Wakefield. Even in this position, they really are putting their shoulder to the wheel.
They're playing percentage rugby league football. Really impressive there by Brad Drew, taking on that short blindside, kicking to the corner. He knows that their defence is solid enough, they can force the error. And Celtic, I'm afraid, they're struggling to get out of their own quarter.
Jace Van Dyke puts the kick in. Matt Peterson not interested in that one. The USA international Matt Peterson, there's Jace Van Dyke, who he too has had a disjointed season because of injury.
Well, it looked as though they'd turned the corner, didn't it, just over a fortnight ago when the Celtic had their first win. They defeated Bradford. And they came back down to earth against Catalan, and certainly the first half has just blown them away.
I think they've been a little unlucky to play teams at the wrong time. They played against the Catalan side after the Dragons had lost narrowly to St Helens and had some confidence. They've played against Wakefield at possibly the worst week of the season. Having suffered the heaviest defeat, most teams bounce back with a stronger showing. A reshuffle in the selection has meant some new players come back in to show what they have to offer, some returning from injury. And Wakefield, if you think back, the first try, the one scored by Atkins, was a little bit of a lucky effort. Since then, one or two decisions have gone against them, and Wakefield have really grown in confidence.
Yes, John Dixon's words ahead of this game was that Huddersfield Giants hadn't done them any favours with that big win, because he knew that it was going to be a really determined Wakefield performance, and that hit has certainly been his. Dale Ferguson, he's lost the ball.
And on top of that, Bill, you've got to take into account that, you know, Danny Brough returning after disciplinary reasons. He wants to go out there and show that he's one of the best, and he certainly ripped them apart in the opening 20 minutes.
But it's Celtic Crusaders in possession with Ryan O'Hara.
And the message from John Keir, of course, he'll be happy with the scoreline, and why wouldn't you at 40-0? But that, he'll be saying to his side, look at that 0. That's what I want to finish with. When it's 80 minutes set up, I don't want the home side to have scored any points at all.
Dyer did well to get that ball back in field to Quinn, but Quinn was pounced on by Danny Brough. Withers is back on the field. Mapp, Budworth out there. They've got both their hookers on the field, and they're keeping this ball alive. It's with Lennon. Lennon gets the ball to Hannay. Now Blackwood. Blackwood trying to go on the outside, but the defence is good. It's Tony Martin making the tackle, the 5th. And Jace Van Dijk will hoist this ball across field. Dyer will leap for it. And he was offside. And a groan from the Celtic Crusaders players as another call goes against them.
Well, I'm not so sure. I think it's been badly done to there. Well, Luke Dyer seemed to have come from out of the picture, and we were smack banging level with it.
I think the home side will believe there's a conspiracy theory against the
look at this,
the
he
Welsh
comes
team here. He's clearly behind the line and behind the kicker. I don't think any of the players on the inside either are involved, and now the touch judge is on. I think we're going to see 2 penalties in quick succession.
If there is a bit of frustration out there, then it's been growing in the Celtic Crusaders camp.
Nothing has gone their way, the home side, and that was silly play by Oliver Wilkes. Okay, it's a rough, tough game, and there's no doubt about it. Tried to rip his head off, but then he just goes forward and says, listen, grab hold of it.
I don't need players running from 50 metres or whatever go for nothing. Just cool.
It's difficult, Bill.
You lot cool down.
You know, the conspiracy theory that you talk about.
I didn't talk about it.
Well, every decision in the first half went against them.
Well, that one's gone against them as well. But probably justifiably from the position of the high tackle.
Oh, and that's another one.
Dalcourt, yeah. There is a bit of frustration out there from the Celtic camp. Dalcourt looking pretty furious. Dale Ferguson not impressed. Wakefield don't want to get sucked into this now. Demetriou, Martin on the charge. Martin is well tackled.
Ben Taylor, the official, has to keep an eye on this. This could really explode.
Here is Wilkes again. O'Hara with the tackle. Drew across the field, but runs into Bryant, and it's Drew again looking for his second. Could be penalised there, Celtic.
Drop that, Brad Drew.
And he's knocked that ball on as he played it. Exasperation from the Wakefield side, and it's their turn to question a decision, but he did. Just a little fumble as he played that ball.
Yeah, not only that, looks as though Danny Brough had a little bit of a knock-on with it. Good work by Darren Mapp. Ball and all tackle, just slammed to the ground of the substitute Brad Drew, who's played his part. Quite a lot of people in rugby league, they think that Wakefield don't sort of play all that well when they both have Danny Brough and Brad Drew out on the field of play. But I think the tactics today have been quite superb, because Brough has been walking out onto the second receiver and mixing it, while Brad Drew has been controlling everything at the play the ball area.
Wakefield tactics have been spot on.
Failed to find touch with that kick, Barry, sorry.
And I was just going to make the comment about Celtic, and what we can't do is lose faith with rugby league in this part of the rugby league world, if you like. I was talking to one of the development officers. He's saying he's getting to more schools, more amateur clubs are sprouting up, and it's unfortunate that the front of shop product, which is the Celtic Crusaders in Super League, are taking some time to adjust.
It was always going to be a very, very hard road for them. That's the reason why they're giving them 3 years.
They've made such a massive leap from second division up into Super League as they are now, and again, it's difficult for them, but it's a learning process.
Dalcourt is pumped up. He was just chatted to by the referee. Chatting is not the right word, but Dalcourt is obviously frustrated. So is Bryant. And you've got to say that the referee might have just made a bit of a rod for his own back. But it's no excuse for the Celtic Crusaders losing their discipline, which they are doing. Penalty count starting to even up in actual fact. Wakefield still ahead in that respect. Wilkes.
Well, Celtic can't afford to have a player sent off. They're in the deep mire as it is with injuries. Can't afford a suspension.
Dale Ferguson.
3. Move!
Plays the ball just a couple of metres away from that try line. Tavita Leolatu did well to get away from the challenge of Beasley, and he's still being hounded by Beasley, and he's got away, but he's run straight back into trouble. Right in front of those posts. Here's Rooney. Demetriou, Tony Martin now. Oh, and Griggs gets the ball, and he gets Blackwood at the same time.
Griggs sits on his backside and said, where did that come from? Blackwood, well, we talk about man-on-man marking. Boom. Well, that'll lift their spirits and maybe just calm things down slightly. I think it might be a good idea for Ben Thaler, the referee, to just have a little bit of a word with these players as they go into the scrum. Hey, come on, fellas.
Wakefield heading for their 4th away win from home this season, 4th in 7, which is pretty good going, sort of form you need to be a playoff contender. Wins at Wigan, Castleford and Hull already for John Keir's side. They can add a victory at Catalan Dragons, at Celtic Crusaders as well this evening. And they've already equalled, by doing this, their tally for last season. Got 4 last year, so it's pretty good going, and especially when you consider the dip in form they've been in for the last 5 games. If only they'd been consistent, they'd be up there challenging with Hull Kingston Rovers.
Well, I think it's impossible to win every game, Bill. It's impossible to be at your best for every single game. All teams go through a form slump at some stage. Wakefield just hoping after those 5 games that's out of the way for 2009. It might not be the case. You just got to work your way out of it. As Lincoln Withers, the number 9 there for the Crusaders, loses possession in the tackle. You know, a lot can turn around in a year. Just ask the number 10 for the Crusaders, Mark Bryant. Last season he was playing for the Manly Seagulls, the top team in the NRL, featuring in the grand final. All of a sudden now he's here, 40 points to 0 down in a team stuck at the bottom of this competition.
Here is Matt Blaymire. Haven't seen much of him in the second half. He certainly hasn't had much in the way of defensive duties to perform. Just a couple of threats to the Wakefield line in this second half. But defensively, Wakefield have been untroubled. And they're ahead by 40 points to 0 as we enter the last quarter of the game. Drew, Brough, and here is Blaymire. Blaymire elegantly spinning away from Delacourt's tackle. Peterson now. Did well there, Peterson, 2 men on him. And he thought he was going to be heading for the sidelines, but he managed to find some ground. Drew, here is Bybee now. Bybee ships it on to Jason Demetriou. Demetriou tackled by Jace Van Dyke. Drew will put a kick across field, but too strong. The danger diffused. And Damien Quinn was well positioned to take that kick. Here is Blackwood.
Well, it surprised me that Wakefield did not score, because the Celtic defensive line, some were hanging back, others had come up off that straight line. If you have a defensive that's like a dog's back leg, you're going to always be in trouble, and that's a knock-on. Too many errors, not many opportunities, and it's not surprising. Damien Quinn tried his damnedest to tip this on. But the defence, which has been a problem for Wakefield and their coach John Keir of late, but they've certainly impressed him this evening.
It's a clear, still evening here in Bridgend, and the sound travelling well, and I'm sure the sound is Steve-O, Steve-O, what's the score from the Wakefield supporters on that far side of the ground? I can't think why that would be.
Well, they've only got so many fingers, Bill.
Stay in the scrum, move! Go.
Blaymire plays the ball, here's Wilkes.
2, come out early again, I'll penalise you. Move!
Here is Brough. Dale Ferguson now. Ferguson upended.
It's been a well-balanced performance by Wakefield. I've been very impressed with them. The forwards have done all up their sleeves, done all the hard work. The introduction, of course, of Brad Drew. Not that Sam Ops didn't do his bit in the opening 25 minutes.
Martin is tackled into touch. Another good tackle from Anthony Blackwood. Still some defiance in this Celtic Crusaders side.
And again, Blackwood not being kidded. He could have followed. You could see that Scott Griggs had come back off the line, come back on the inside, stayed with his man, and is not too well, Tony Martin.
Griggs came inside because the last pass he got off Tony Martin was a shocker, and he got back.
Said it's your turn.
Yeah. You have it.
So Celtic managing to keep this Wakefield side scoreless for 14 minutes, the longest they've gone in this game without conceding a try. Here's Jordan James. Jordan James, a former Royal Marine, and this game in a few weeks, this ground in a few weeks' time will host a game featuring the Royal Marines, and it should be some game because it's the Marines against the Paras. Always a tasty confrontation. They're playing for the Trafalgar Cup, and when those two go head-to-head, well, the ball is incidental, isn't it, when the Marines and the Paras get it on?
I think for the first time it will be open to the public, won't it? Previously it's been playing behind closed doors for only the armed services personnel to view, but that should be a fiery encounter between those two proud regiments.
I'll tell you what, to warm up for it, the Paras are, as we speak, I think, at Heathrow Airport, preparing to board a plane to go to Australia, where they will play 3 games against the Australian Armed Forces. And those, I think, will be pretty tasty as well.
Sounds like better preparation than the England team for the World Cup.
Always problems for Atkins. He's down on one knee, and it looks like a shoulder problem.
Just going back to the armed forces, of course, the British Armed Forces provided a bit of comfort for England fans out in Australia last autumn, winning their particular World Cup. And it was the Aussies they beat.
And convincingly, too.
Do you think those games were closed behind closed doors because they were X-rated? Do you think they've got an 18 certificate on this game?
Well, this has from a Celtic point of view, because Snitch has got another try for Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. No need for the video ref on that one, and Steve Snitch accepts the congratulations of his teammates and of the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats supporters. Gets his 4th try of this Super League campaign.
Well, they're down and out to the Celtic Crusaders. Their defensive line, as I mentioned earlier, some are hanging back, some are just hesitating. They're not moving up as a unit, but you have to be. And when you allow someone with the quality of Brad Drew to run away from dummy half and create panic on the short blind side, there was no one at home. Snitch, easy. He's a thinker, is Brad Drew. He's a fine player. So is this guy as well. The flag are waving, but I'm afraid it's not a coloured one as far as Celtic are concerned. More like the white flag from the home side. He'll be very disappointed with John Dixon, the Celtic coach, because that was very poor positioning in their defensive line.
Another conversion missed by Danny Brough. Just lost his bearings a little bit, but Steve Snitch getting his 4th try of the season. He played his 150th career game last weekend, Steve Snitch, and he's missed only 1 this season, so he's in good form, and deserved try from the 2nd rower this evening. Brough unable to convert it, and Wakefield certainly are back on track after their blip.
You have to feel sorry for Kevin Ellis on the backroom staff here at the Celtic Crusaders. Celebrated his 48th birthday yesterday, and he's had a torrid night tonight.
What a way to celebrate your 48th birthday, Barry. I think actually you're being a bit harsh there. He's not 48.
He's 48 if he's a day.
The eternal boy, John Dixon, got a few years on him. He's in his 50s. He and John Keir, the 50-somethings of this Super League coaching fraternity. And it really is a battle for John Dixon and his players. And Barry was talking about the youth here in South Wales, and in fact you'll be able to find out more about that in Boots and All next week when we look at the what is coming through, and a great group of young Welsh players who are heading for an international future in rugby league as well. 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock and Sky Sports 3 next Wednesday. That's Boots and All, plenty more besides that. But here is the most recent try scorer, Steve Snitch, on the last. Don't think he heard the call. Just head down, went himself, and that'll be the turnover.
Well, at 44-0, you can elect to go on a solo run on your own, but it's just been such a problem for the home side to get any sort of field position.
Of course, the evening starting.
They've lost it yet again.
The evening starting with a minute's silence in memory of Leon Walker. Of course, this was the round 6 game that should have been played on March the 22nd. And the intention from Wakefield was to do Leon's memory proud. Their former teammates who died playing in that reserve game just up the road against Celtic in Maesteg. And they've done Leon Walker proud, haven't they?
They most certainly have. And there's little doubt that John Keir would have mentioned that before they trotted out for the kick-off. He's a shrewd coach. He's an honest coach as well, and he's not frightened to do things different. That'll be play on.
The ball ricocheting, picked up by Blackwood. Blackwood tackled by Griggs. This with Lennon.
But full credit.
Exactly.
Full credit. Look, they're getting back in numbers.
As you said, that nil now is the big incentive for Wakefield, isn't it? Nilling this Celtic side. Snitch snatches that ball out of the air.
He's having the time of his life, is Brad Drew out there, and so's this guy.
What an incentive this is for the Wakefield side. They've only nilled opponents twice in their Super League history. They've nilled Castleford, which will have been a particularly delightful occasion, on August the 5th in 2006, and they nilled the London Broncos in August 2000. So can they nil the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats? Can they get another try? They will. Brad Drew, I think, has squeezed his way through there, but Ben Thaler wants it confirmed by the video ref Thierry Alibert. Has Drew got his second try?
Well, he deserves it. He's been outstanding since he came off the bench. He's controlled things out there. Some neat little kicks. Is he short? I think he's short. He did very well to stop him. I think he's just a fraction short here, Mr. Drew, as he struggled over. Well, his body's over the line. This is difficult for the French video referee, Thierry Alibert. He's had to work overtime for his money. I think that's short.
Well, what's the opinion of video ref Thierry Alibert? Still waiting to find out. Brad Drew is somewhere. The ball is there. The ball looks as though it's short of the line
to start with, but does it momentum take him over?
Yeah, that's it. It only has to go on the line, doesn't it?
No,
all the other angles, it looks short.
Doesn't look as though it's moved. Oh, it has moved.
On that one, it looks like he's got it.
Everything has gone the way of the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats this evening, and that one has as well. Brad Drew gets his second try. Oh, that was shades of Yestin Harris and his try the other week at Featherstone. And yes, Brad Drew gratefully accepting that decision. Gets his second of the night, and Wakefield now on course for their biggest ever away win in Super League.
Nice dummy, a nice upper body strength eventually gets him through. He's a man that likes to control things out on the paddock, and he's a talented player. There's little doubt about that. He's had an outstanding game since he came off the bench. Okay, he came on at a time when the game was virtually won, but he's been impressive. Raises the eyebrows.
Bruff back on target. And 50 up for this Wakefield Trinity Wildcats side at the expense of a demoralised Celtic Crusaders team. Oh well, take whatever comes your way.
Yeah, you don't turn them down.
Hold on. What do I do?
And just has a wry smile as he turned to see if Danny Brufford act the extras. Well, can they get that elusive try, the home side?
Can Wakefield nil them? I think that's the big question now for Wildcat supporters, how they'd love to go away from here with a big fat nil against them in terms of points conceded.
What an amazing turnaround in sport here for Wakefield to concede 58 points last week and to score 50 and maybe more here today. Just goes to show really about how important the attitude is. The ability of the Wakefield side hasn't changed in the period of a week. OK, there's been some personnel changes, but not that significant that it would alter the scoreboard by, what, a 100-point shift? Amazing, really, how the attitude of the team and obviously the build-up and preparation for the game here from John Keir has made such a difference here. Attitude is everything in this sport.
And they haven't finished yet. On the last, Drew chips the kick ahead. Too strong for Grix. They're trying everything now. This Wakefield side looking to extend this biggest away win. They won in Cardiff 54-16 last year against the Castleford Tigers. But this is the biggest winning margin in their Super League history. Unless Celtic can spoil it in the last 7 minutes here, and there seems little chance of that. They really do look
dispirited,
pretty dispirited and battered here, this Celtic side.
It's a reality check, that is for sure. You did mention as well that, you know, the absence of Matty Smith. He's a talented player, likes to control things out on the field of play, but John Dixon would realise he's come up against a very, very well-drilled outfit in Wakefield. That'll be the most pleasing factor for John Keir. Although we did see him just a few moments ago, he's still got that nervous twitch, hasn't he?
The kick well taken by Blaymire, but Blaymire's lost it! And it's been pounced on by Damien Quinn. Now then, are they going to concede a try here?
Well, it should be.
If the tackle was complete,
he's lost it.
His elbow's down, Steve-O.
Yeah, but he's still moving.
His elbow's down. Is he allowed to pull him back?
Well, if it's all in one motion, yes.
I'm not sure if it'll complete.
Blaymire takes it.
Is it not complete when his elbow hits the floor?
Well, Dyer with the
only
tackle.
if it's stopped. He's
Dyer's
still
tackle.
moving. He's still moving. I think this will be given. Well, they haven't had much luck, I must say, tonight. The home side. And I think the Welsh team may just get it.
I think it's tackle. I think it'd be no try.
They seem pretty confident that they're going to get this decision as we look at the replays. They're heading back for the restart, confident that this call at least will go their way. But you know what?
I wouldn't be that confident,
I
Bill.
don't think it will.
Not with the decisions tonight.
Well, I'm going to go. I'm going to be the sympathy vote here. TRY.
Damien Quinn hoping that they have at last got something on the scoreboard here. But they haven't.
Scrum down there and ball.
I think the
I
tackle
don't
was
see
complete.
how can he give scrum attack?
I think the tackle was complete and then Blaymire lost the ball.
He's ruled a knock on. Yeah, but
It's going to be a scrum. He can't play on.
well, after the tackle was complete, he's pulled him back in goal. He's continued on with the tackle.
He loses the ball, therefore it's not play on.
Well, it's a funny one.
The tackle's complete here,
Tackle complete.
Well, I
and
think
then
it's
I
still...
think he loses
Well,
the
why not
ball,
play
and that's what
advantage?
they're knocking.
20.
Why not play advantage then? How can you give scrum now to
Get
Celtic?
on with it, Jason. Bluff it, get on side.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, it's
Head in, stay on.
head and feet to Celtic, that means to say. But, well, either way.
Yeah, well, it's livened things up anyway.
One, move!
Celtic have possession from that scrum. Can Lincoln Withers find a way through? Not if those Wakefield defenders are having anything to do with it. Stozic rock solid underneath his own post. Jace Van Dijk stabs a kick in. Dalcourt taken out by Demetriou.
Scrum down there and ball.
Got to be offside anyway.
And he's given the knock on by Wakefield, and they'll get head and feed.
Well, there's still plenty of time.
Demetriou stood his Dimitriou stood his ground there.
Get on with the ball, even here.
Surely there's a man in an offside position.
Delacourt actually ran straight into him. And here is Marc Delacourt. Hannay now. Hannay
Got to be a penalty.
will get the penalty because Danny Brough just impeded him as he was getting to his feet to play the ball.
Well, Wakefield will be desperate, and so will John Keetle. Get the message out. Remember, 0-0. That's the call. Keep it that way.
Here's Jordan James. Remember that Marines against Paris game, June the 18th, here at Bridgend. And Wakefield still in the last 5 minutes.
Not about the 1 pointer, Mike.
Now they go for the try here. Nice
Play
call.
the ball, Celtic. Jace Van Dijk. Lennon onto Hannay, but Grix all over Hannay. The
Great
pass
work.
behind Hannay, and Grix was on top of him in a flash. Jace Van Dijk. Tangata Toa, one of the players denied a second-half try in this game. Jace Van Dijk, Lennon now. Lennon is tackled. That's the 5th tackle. Wakefield absolutely determined that their line won't be crossed. So Van Dijk hangs that one up in the air. Dyer gets it, pats it back in field. Delacourt has put that one back, but he's going to go to the video ref.
I think he's dead in goal.
He'll be offside.
Touching goal.
No, I think he's dead in goal before he knocks the ball back.
He might give it for a ball.
With the ball.
It's a good kick from Van Dijk. I think he's onside. He does well, Dyer.
Well, he has touched the corner post, hasn't he, before he touches the ball? I think his body touches the corner post. Yes, he does.
Yeah, but as he can touch it before he touches the ball, that's fine.
No try.
Tap on the 20.
Tap 20.
No try.
Tap 20.
And in fact, the Celtic Crusaders on this occasion seem to know that this one is not going to go their way.
He takes a corner flag, no try, as you're right. It has
It's going
not
to be a
been
20-metre restart, and Wakefield's try line survives again. That's 3 disallowed by the video ref for the Celtic Crusaders, and 3 okayed by the video ref for the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. But those 3 Wakefield tries, pretty clear-cut.
You may laugh at me for saying this, Bill. I know they're 50 points to nil and the losers here, but they weren't that bad. Last week, 20 minutes to go, they could have almost scored, gone in front, and maybe have beaten the Catalan Dragons. They're not a million miles off, even though the scoreboard and the league table are telling everybody that they're not competitive at this level. It's not the case.
On another day, 1 or 2 of these calls would have gone their way. The ball would have bounced their way, as it did for Ryan Atkins early on.
Well, I certainly see them winning 2, 3 or 4 games in the second half of this season. They're clearly capable of doing that.
Brough chips that one ahead. Rooney was on the same wavelength.
He's pushed him. He's got the penalty. Well spotted there by Ben Thaler. Rooney thought he got away with it.
We're in 10. He's offside. In is offside.
And Ben Thaler just explaining to Jamie Rooney the reasons behind that decision. Offside it was. Clock counting down. Wakefield ahead by 50 points to nil. Big fat 0. That's the sort of thing that really pleases a coach, isn't it?
It does, and it's your first bit of work for next week. You're telling sides that you can defend strong. You're telling sides that you're line proud and you're willing to work for one another.
It's a good signal to send out from this Wakefield side.
Well, they got back onto the horse, haven't they? And that's the main thing. It's going to take a little bit more than that, though, as regards to John Dixon. He knows he's been beaten in every department this evening. They've had a few touches. 2 tries disallowed, of course, in the second half.
Bryant, right in front of those posts. They're determined to get over the try line. They will, and Tangata Toa will get the try. Is he going to award it? He is! David Tangata Toa gets the try. The Wakefield players are behind their own posts at the moment, and they look as though that try has actually cost them the game. Tangata Toa has scored it, but the Wakefield players are standing around looking at each other accusingly, hands on hips, wondering what's gone wrong. They've conceded a try, and that has ruined their evening.
But you're looking along this Celtic Crusaders side, and in the last sort of 20 minutes, you're thinking to yourself, where is this try scorer going to come from? Tanga Tatoa scores tries regularly. He's a very impressive front rower. He doesn't play the normal way front rowers play, but that's just hard and strong.
This is fourth try of this Super League campaign. David Tanga Tatoa, he was one of the try scorers in the big win, their big win in terms of the significance of the result at Bradford a couple of weeks ago. And he's fourth in 5 games. Tanga Tatoa, as Barry was saying, he is a pretty prolific try scorer. And Hannay adds the extras. Celtic 6, Wakefield 50. And it was amazing to see the reaction of the Wakefield players there, Barry, because we were talking, you know, you'd said that's the signal sent out for Bradford next weekend. They've conceded a try. They were furious.
It is and all. In the last minute, they've let Tanga Tatoa run hard and strong. There was no deception around that try. It was just a simple error of judgment, possibly a missed tackle, and you'd be just disappointed that you didn't work to the 81st minute of the game, so to speak.
The hooter sounds, and Bryant in possession. Here is Jordan James, and James running it. The tackle is complete, and the game is complete. And a very satisfying completion for the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats, led by Jason Demetriou. What a way to bounce back from a performance last week that their coach described as inept. Well, it's been anything but this evening from this Wakefield side, who have really taken the Crusaders apart this evening. And the only blot on the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats copybook is that late try from David Tanga Tatoa, and Josh Hannay converting it just to give the Crusaders a little bit of consolation. But it must be a very satisfying response to the criticism that Wakefield had last week, and we can hear about that from their coach John Keir now, who's with Rod.
John, last week you used the words woeful and inept to describe your team's performance. What words would you like to use tonight?
I was delighted with our defensive effort, and I think the effort at the end of the first half, when Scott Griggs and Matt Peterson got back and diffused that play, then we came right to the end and scored a try. I think that typified the fact that we were playing as a team once again, and I know there'll be an individual man of the match, but I think the team won the man of the match. Very much a group effort. Much was made of your decision to suspend Danny Brough and Danny Sculthorpe. Has this victory drawn a line under that now for you? It drew a line before. This kid accepted his punishment, apologised, he's right as rain. He's had a great game tonight, so I've been absolutely delighted. And I'd also like to send my best wishes to Leon Walker's family and Kevin Henderson as well back in Australia. Yeah, good point, John. We know this was the game that would have been played had it not been for the tragic death of Leon a few weeks ago. You're up into 6th in the table now by my maths. That leaves you pretty handy at the minute? It's pretty handy, but there's 12 games to go yet, so just like we've said beforehand, when you lose 2 points, it's 2 competition points. When you pick 2 up, it's 2 points, and we'll just keep plugging away till the end of the season. But it's a very welcome victory. Well done, John. Let's bring in the man of the match, who is Brad Drew, who's just over to our left-hand side. Brad, well done on the man of the match. There's your champagne for that. Now, you didn't play in that debacle against Huddersfield last week. Was that the difference bringing you back?
I wouldn't have thought so. I think everyone was a little bit embarrassed with what went on last week, and everyone just wanted to put a good performance in, and you know, when we play well, the results look after themselves generally. Yeah. Statistics show that teams that concede a lot of points usually bounce back hard. What was the chat amongst the team in training this week? Yeah, it's pretty simple, basic plan this week, just to you know, get numbers in the tackle and everyone pushing for one another. We try to keep it as basic as we can, and we come up with trumps tonight. As you know, there's £100 to the charity of your choice, Brad, as well. Where will that be going for us? I'll give it to the Brennan Rooney Fund, thank you. Can I just have a quick say hello to my 2 boys at home, Harry and Jed, and I'll see you soon, boys. Just did it. Thanks a lot.
So Brad Drew, a satisfactory return for him, and a satisfactory return to form for the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats, and that elusive first Super League win, home win, for the Celtic Crusaders, well, still elusive, as far away as they probably have been this season. They have been close on occasions, but certainly not tonight on the end of that 50 points to 6 defeat, and that consolation try. Well, you can hardly call it a consolation try, David Tanga Tatoa at the end, but it was amazing, the reaction of the Wakefield players to concede that try. They were so unhappy.
Well, you've got to be pumped up, haven't you, to play, and Wakefield were for the full 80 minutes. They've conceded a try, but I think they've shown tonight that they've got the ability to, again, as I said, they've done impressions this season. They look like a top 4 side the way they played tonight with their attitude and application. And Wakefield have in the previous seasons started seasons particularly well, but faded in the second half, and I think that's what John Key is fully aware of. He mentioned there are 12 games still to go, and he knows that they must play well in those 12 and not just fade out.